Hi guys, or listen to some news today on YouTube. There was a thumbnail that caught my eye, and I looked at it, and this guy, this white guy with a beard. This seems like a nice guy, but he was going on about some crime, an elderly man being attacked. Like he's elderly man, but he was working in some kind of concert or rap concert, and elderly man, 66 years of age, and is that elderly? So, like, am I an elderly man? When you think of elderly man, you think about some old man, frail with a cane, walking, and being like a sitting duck, for these teens, or these they can never say the proper demographic. The media will say teen hurt a man, or suspect, or man. they'll never be specific with the the profiling. They can't. But if it's a white guy, white bastard, 6 foot tall, they'll ram it down your throat. They'll tell you who it is. But when they say man or suspect, exactly. It's code word for something else. You know exactly who they're looking for. It would help though if they just say specifically, short white man with glasses, tall black guy with dreadlocks. It would help, wouldn't it? But because of political correctness or whatever, they're wokery. They're not allowed, or they prefer not to. So apparently, this boy, right? So you know what race it is, right? Already, this boy, I think, was 15 or 16. Basically, he was told to go to another seat because he was in the wrong seat by this elderly white guy, right? And to be honest, he looked like a sitting duck. Like, basically, pushed him, the black kid, the 15-year-old, 16-year-old, pushed him to the ground and started wailing, started to pound on him, like punch, really punch him in his face and everything in front of so many people there. And that shows, one, the level of disrespect for, well, let's be honest, level of disrespect for white people. That's a given. We don't even have to say that, do we? The level of disrespect or hate for white people, that's the first thing. The level of disrespect for elderly or older people, okay? The level of disrespect for authority or people, who, when you go to a venue, like the security or people who work there, that's the level of disrespect for anybody else. And that stems from, one, not having a father, or at least a father figure that you respect and you love, and then, just having a mother. Women cannot bring up men. They can bring up boys, but they can't show a boy how to be a man. For example, my son, I don't know, when he was growing up, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can see that he looks up to me and he's starting to try and flex, he goes, "Daddy, show me your bicep," and things like that. Looks up to me, tries to copy the way I walk or do things or lift things up. He can't get that from his mum, because his mum is not a man. So because he's a little man, he wants to look up to another, a big man, and he's trying to learn, what it's like to be a man, tries to copy you, and it's, for me, it's, I'm not a man's man, so for me, it's a responsibility. I see him wanted to be like me, and I think, is it good to copy or emulate me? Is it good to, you know, am I a good role model? You know, but whether I'm a good role model or not, I am his father. This is all he has, so I have to try and do the best that I can to be a dad. But I think no matter what I am, he loves me, and so, you know, this is a model of a man that he has. Me, bloody hell. A model of a man. Yeah. Well, you know, we're stuck with our parents. You know, we can't choose our parents, and I think most of us love our parents. We know our parents' failings, their good points, and we take them as they are. You know, my mum and dad had failings, but my mum and dad had great points as well. So I love them as they are. You know, all wobbly bits as well. So this kid probably didn't have a father, because a lot of these, like, this demographic, the demographic within a certain race, 16 to 40, this chunk, and you take away the good guys, the good men, then you've got like a certain percentage in the US, maybe 2%, you know, that commit like 50% violent crime, you know, rape, murder, stuff like that. A lot of them to their own people, you know, their own, to that other demographic up here, the good guys, 16 to 40, and women and elderly or whatever. But they do cross over into, I know I've said this before, but I'm still going to say it, to black on white crime. Interracial crime is at least, in some reports I think 7 times, but at least 4 times, 4x, 4 times more than the other way around. So, you know, like, if the population of the US or the UK, if the population of black people, was 50-50, the same as white people, the crime rate would go through the roof, really through the roof. But you don't see it because there's such a small, like in the UK, I think it's 4% of the population are black guys, the whole black community, but the whole black community don't commit all the crime, you know. It's just that demographic within the black community, this demographic, 16 to 40-year-old men or males, and then out of that, you have to take away half of them because that other half, they're good guys, or maybe more than half. So then you've got like maybe 1% committing 13% of the crime in the UK. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's never addressed because people are afraid to be called the R word. Racist. I think everyone can see it, you know, like black guys can see it as well. And if I was a black guy, I'd be pissed off. I'd be pissed off with society and saying, well, why don't you do anything about this? You know? I remember when I was a kid at school and I was being punched, you know, I was being thumped. They thump you, they punch you. I used to go back home with my deltoid, this area black. And there were 2 guys, they weren't really troublemakers. They were just, one was lanky, really long arms, and, you know, like those spider monkeys. I'm not being racist. I mean, you know, the spider monkeys, they're monkey. They're all white, actually, and they've got really long arms. This guy had long arms. He could fucking reach you from a few meters away with his arm. It's like, you know, like the Fantastic Four. You'd get that guy, his arm would go really far. His arms could stretch. It's like that Stretch Armstrong, you know. Yeah. So this guy used to punch me, like, he used to, like, really long arm, you know, he used to go poof like this in my shoulder. And then another guy, 2 black guys, used to punch me. He used to just jump around, laughing, throwing things, not listening to the teacher. But we had one teacher, obviously, like, she must have been one Labour Party voting woman. You know, she was very lefty. So there was a black girl who saw what happened, what always happened. Is it Sharon, I think her name is. She was a nice girl. She was fair. So she said to the white teacher, Miss, I don't know, Jones or whatever, why don't you stop them? Can't you see they're hurting Gerald? Why don't you do anything about it? She was really brave. And you know what the teacher said? The teacher said, oh, it's okay. They're just messing around. They're just like as a teacher, you have to protect children, because I couldn't stand up and say, yeah, they're hurting me. I get beaten up because I was scared of them. You know, growing up, I was scared. They were just messing around, didn't want to study, and they stopped. They held us all back. And a lot of these guys used to hold us back, always being held back. And the teachers, instead of helping us, they just let things happen, you know. So anyway, yeah, my point was, like, in the demographic 16 to 40, you have the evil guys, but you have the good guys, right? The good guys, like if I was one of these black guys and I'm one of the 16 to 40, but I don't commit any crime, I would be saying, hey, why doesn't society do anything? This fear of racism, it's actually hurting us, because who are these criminals going to most likely kill or stab or grape? It's people from our own community. So why don't you, the white community or society, why don't you see, if you really cared about us? But they also understand that to focus on this group would be deemed racist, right? So that the real problem is this idea of racism, and being labeled racist. I really don't care if I'm labeled racist. That's all right, fine. I'm glad you noticed. That's all I will say. I'm not afraid of it at all. But then again, I don't work. I don't live in society, so I can say that without feeling uncomfortable, because nowadays everything is racist. So you might as well get with the times. Everything. This hat is racist. These glasses are racist. Having a white skin, that's racist. Everything is racist. So you might as well, we're bathed in racism everywhere. So you might as well just take it on board and say, yeah, all right, I'm a Nazi, I'm a whatever you say, All these words mean is like, you're bad, you're evil, you're this, you're that, you're no good, That's all it means. Forget about that word, but the general vibe is you're bad. To notice that these young guys are beating up white women, raping the elderly as well. You're bad. You're evil. You shouldn't see it. Move along. You called the word racist, right? So, yeah, there was that case in the concert where this teen beat up this elderly man. I don't know about elderly. I think 60 years he wouldn't be beating me up. I'll tell you, he'll be ended up in hospital. After the first few blows, that would trigger from the depths of hell in my system that Kundalini snake, that fucking vampire. Yeah. Sometimes I think, would I be able to take on a young man? And I think, yeah, sometimes I think, no. I mean, if I get punched, you're disorientated and you're playing catch up, and as you're starting to wake up, you're getting punched more and more. So, you're overwhelmed. But if I didn't get punched in my head, and I wasn't disorientated, then maybe I could put up a fight for a few seconds. But I mean, you guys laugh, but that's all it takes. All it takes is a few seconds, like a thumb in the eye, a chop to the neck here, or to the nose here, anywhere on the head, and that head, chop here and then bang, elbow. Oh, yeah, I don't think I'd last that long, actually. Yeah. But if someone's trying to hurt you, you have to fight back. and you wouldn't be as strong as a. You see the folly of youth. Yeah, when you're young and you're strong, you can just pound someone and you don't care about, because you've got reserves of energy and strength. But as you get older, even if you're a woman, if you're slightly weaker than your opponent, then you have to target the weak areas, the eyes, the throat, groin. These areas are, you can't strengthen your neck, you can't strengthen your eyes. There's nothing to protect you apart from your arms, I suppose. Your groin as well. I would go for those areas. Solar plexus, yeah, the pit of your stomach, if you can find it, because someone really fat, and you can miss. You can't miss the throat, you can't miss the eyes, and you can't miss the groin. Those are easy targets. So yeah, that kid, he wouldn't have beaten me up. So basically, the old man, the elderly man, he just pushed him and he went on the floor, and he was holding him like that. Obviously he's pounding down on the guy and using gravity, and just punching it, boom, boom, boom. And finally somebody got off him, but you can see he's all like battered. And you know how embarrassing it is, a 15-year-old to beat you up. And obviously it's a black kid, right? Let's just be really clear. It's a black kid beating up a white man, an older white man. Yeah. So what happened to him? Nothing. He went back home, and the guy, the white guy, said, "Oh, people have got problems with aggression nowadays, and they have to learn." Why? Why do you say that? Can't you just say there is a problem with the black community, with young black men? Like, even this guy who got beaten up, like, I would have been like pissed off. You'd think he's pissed off. It's this kind of cuck, kind of, not cuck, but soft beta male mentality. Yeah, people say I'm a beta male. You haven't seen me when I'm fucking pissed off. I am beta. I'll be nice and relaxed, and you can say anything you want to me. I'll just shut up. I'll take it up the exhaust. But you fucking piss me off, and I'll fucking flip. I'll start smashing things, and usually smashing my own bones and hurting myself. But like, there is a tipping point where I flip, and I don't like that. I'm not proud of it, but I'm definitely not proud of it, and it's not good for my health, because that heightened state of anxiety, or let's put it bluntly, rage, is not good. But like, if someone has that rage, you have loads of power, you feel really strong, and you can smash things, and that's what it's there for, really, to protect you. That primal thing comes up. You got the strength of a bloody elephant. Yeah, so the second case, right, there was another black guy with dreadlocks, and he was drinking. He was a bit, I don't know if he was really drunk, but he was drunk, let's say. And he hit this woman. While he was driving, he hit this woman. The woman went through the bloody windscreen, maybe her head through the windscreen, and got stuck. The fucking bastard. He was driving with her a few blocks, like a few miles, with the woman inside the windscreen. The woman died. And she left. She had a little child. She's a single mum. I don't know why. And maybe the dad passed away as well. You don't know. A nice blonde woman. Again, black guy kills a blonde woman. Black kid, like, he would have beaten to death this old man if there wasn't a massive crowd there to stop him, because it was a concert and everyone stopped him. Like, he wasn't going to stop. So what is it? What is it with this? Like, this guy, he wasn't. I don't think he was that drunk, because he was driving around. He went to the shop to buy something, and when the police, maybe somebody saw what, like, there was a woman, like this woman dangling out of the windscreen, and he drove for miles. He could have saved this woman. He could have just called the police and said, "Look, I've been involved in an accident," or stopped, like, called the police and just run away. And as long as somebody, the paramedics or whatever, the ambulance got to the lady, She could have been saved, but he drove around with her bleeding out, maybe her arteries or whatever, and yeah, she died. She's with a small child. You know, she left a small child. Now I don't know this child. There's a GoFundMe page for this child, this little kid, maybe 4 years old or whatever. You know, so those are two cases that this guy showed. And yeah, like I said, if you play that game, you go on YouTube, and YouTube is a very lefty. It's not racist or anything. You put down, you know, woman killed. No, not woman. Woman assaulted. Unprovoked attack. Elderly assaulted. And like most of the time, it's going to be that bracket, that demographic. Yeah, so I don't really. There's nothing you can do if the government doesn't deal with this. You know, the only way to deal with this is for the government to say, look, there's a problem within the black community or some community. How do we deal with it? This guy fucking is doing my head in. This guy whistling. Would you fuck off with your fucking hell? Some guy working outside, I don't know, whistling. That's better. Quiet. Don't have to hear his bloody voice. His whistling. Yeah, so the only solution is for us to target the pro. And the thing is, this guy was another one of these how do you say, these career criminals. He's been he's been involved with the police, with crime, and he's let out by these liberal judges, these liberal DAs in the States, and I'm sure we've got them here as well. So they continuously let out because their offences. Oh, why are they let out all the time? There is an agenda. That's Soros, that bastard. And now Trump has made Antifa a terrorist organization. So that Soros has to be careful, because if he funds these Antifa organizations, then he's going to be in trouble. Yeah. But also he funded many of these DAs to get elected, so that basically to cause trouble, to let these criminals out. And these criminals come out, and then eventually they'll kill someone. These criminals are all potential murderers because they're let out, and they're parasites to society. They're let out, and then they commit some small crimes like stealing, maybe some kind of robbery, or maybe sexual assault that is minor, harassing people, swearing at people, or whatever they do. General, like, troublemakers. But they're, you know, they get caught, they get released. They get caught, they get released. They get caught, they get released. And then finally they end up killing someone. And that's what's happening. Like this guy, just like the black guy who killed the Ukrainian woman, he was caught so many times, I think 14 times, but somebody said no, it was actually 40 times, and then released again by these liberal judges. Some of these are black liberal judges. I wonder if they're liberal or as lenient to white criminals. Who knows? I don't know. I don't even want to look. I'm scared to find out. It's as if certain black people don't care. And there was one guy on X who, this black guy who said, he was talking about, you know, the Ukrainian woman that was killed. And he says, yeah, as black, something like, as black people, you know, people want to know, like, do I care, you know? And then he said, he was laughing, ha ha, we don't care. We don't care about the Ukrainian woman killed, you know, and he was laughing about it. You see what I mean? So it's interesting. It's good to know that you don't care, because I've always known with my negative mind, my negative mind doesn't give a shit about political correctness. My gut feeling tells me you don't fucking care. I know. So I am. I don't live in London or anymore where there's these black teens or black men, like a certain group of black men, not all black men. Like, for example, I saw the doctor. He's a nice guy. Is it from Ghana, I think? No, Nigeria. And he's in that demographic between 14 and 40. But he's a good, no, actually he's not. He's about 45 or something. He's a really good guy, really nice guy. Every time I talk to him, we laugh, and he's a really nice guy. So I'm not talking about these guys. But if you love or like these guys, you have to deal with these guys here, because these guys here, the demographic between 40 and 40 that commit crimes, attack these guys first because they're in their community, right? That makes sense, doesn't it? But don't be racist. No. Actually, the people that say don't be the anti-racist ones are the ones that are causing the most damage to black people, black men and black women who have to deal with this fucking demographic. But if you mention it, fucking racist bastard, move along. There's nothing to talk about here. There's a lot to fucking talk about. And the black population isn't really increasing, but the Muslim population really is. Or let's say, well, when you say Muslim, that's a religion, but people from that area, Pakistan, Middle East, Afghanistan or whatever, they might not even be Muslim, but people say Muslim. But then a lot of them aren't Muslim. They're not really religious. Or I don't know, if they say that they're Muslim, some people say, I'm Muslim, but they drink. They're not really Muslim. But yeah, people from that demographic, their population is going up. And they end up being like this, you end up having this demographic. So in every race, in every community, you have this demographic, 14 to 40, that commits the most crime. Within that demographic, you have the good guys and the bad guys, obviously. So if you take away that layer of good guys, you have a small demographic that creates the most robbery, rape, or sexual assault, and murder, So you're going to start to have a lot more like Middle Eastern, Pakistan, these guys being included in these stats. And it's not going to be whites, because I think we come from I don't know, we value life more, or we come from more of a high trust, they call it high trust society. Where I live, we've got trust boxes, honesty boxes. So basically, you put a box outside your house and you can sell the eggs, like 6 eggs for £1. And then people would just take the eggs, and then put £1 in a little container. And that's called an honesty box. You can sell books. If this was in London, where I live, you can forget about it. They'd take the box, they'd take the books, they'd take the money, everything. So, yeah, low trust society. Where people don't trust each other and have no respect for each other. I'm not saying like all countries like in Africa or whatever, but there is that you cannot, you can't just like ignore it and say, no, don't talk like that, Gerald. What do you mean don't talk like that about that, Gerald? We live in a country that is predominantly white. Still, it's about 85% or whatever. But just in my experiences, I've never been beat up by a white guy. I was stabbed by a black guy. My ex-girlfriend was raped by a black guy. I was mugged by black guys. I was beaten up by black guys. One Indian guy with a Pakistani gang tried to beat me up and smashed up my dad's car, and I had to stop I had to stop school because of this guy. One Arab guy punched me in the nose, broke my nose when I was 19. I blacked out and broke my teeth. Um, where are the white guys? I've never been beaten up, or yeah, had some arguments, but like, if this country is predominantly white, I mean, you can say I lived in a black area, but I didn't, because growing up, London wasn't predominantly non-white. In the 1970s, there were still loads of whites. 80s, there were still loads of whites. 90s, then it started to, the white population, there was white flight and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know. It's like, this is just the example of n equals one person. But you see it on the news everywhere. You see black guys now, the young guys, they're more bold. They'll beat you up in broad daylight. They don't have to wait until there's no one around, because no one can touch them. They are untouchable. You touch them, you're racist. It's not going to work with me. There could be a whole fucking gang of them, and I'm gonna I'm gonna do something. Probably end up dead, but I'm not gonna be told like, to shut up or move out of the way or whatever. But I think black guys, just like anybody else, they know who to fuck around with. They know who to, they see white guys as weak, and white guys don't want to fight. And in a way, it's true, because a lot of us don't want to fight. We don't want to fight. We don't want to. But Italian people, some Italians, they don't, they're not gonna fuck around, even with a black guy. Yeah, okay, you want to fucking fight, fight. Get your fucking tool out. Yeah, I think like Sicilian people, like they would fight. Some like, Turkish, these kind of people from the Mediterranean, they're not going to take any shit. Whereas, the English, they're more likely to not want trouble and say, oh, okay. And so this demographic, within the demographic, know that. And it's sad, because like, everybody wants to be at peace. You don't want to have an alarm bell in your brain every time you see a certain person of a certain demographic, like black guy, 16 to 40, trousers all the way down his knees, walking like a bad man like that, with a with a, how do you call it, with a hoodie on. Like, you start to have anxiety. And for me, like, that anxiety stems from the past, when I was growing up, like being beaten up. The kids used to, at school, I told you before, like, black kid used to grab me, give me your fucking money, and you can never say these things to the teachers. The fucking teachers were in on it. They were all lefties. Oh, it's okay, Leroy didn't mean it. What do you mean what do you mean didn't mean it? Jump up and down. You have to jump up and down to see if you've got coins, because they would come up to you and say, have you got any money? I need some money. I need to borrow some money. And you say, no, I got no money. Sorry, I got no money. And then jump up and down. So basically, you jump up and down, you'd have a few coins, and then you have to give it to the person. And then, woof, don't lie to me again. I tell you, I had this growing up. And you would have thought, yeah, well, that's why you're so racist. I'm not fucking racist. I don't hate. But my brain, as soon as I see a person who fits that description in my brain, I go back into the archives. It's immediate, and a good person and a bad person. If I see a black guy and he acts a certain way, then I'm calm. I know he's a good guy. He's not going to trouble me, and he's not a threat to me. But as soon as I see that one, like, is like, or looking like that, and and like, you can tell immediately. You can tell immediately. So it doesn't mean that, it just means I avoid. I just move away or walk across the road, or it doesn't mean there's no hate there. You just want to avoid trouble, you know. But you don't meet any of these guys. The black guys that I meet now in Norwich are nice. The friends of my daughter, really nice. They're not bad people at all. They're good, you know. So maybe things have changed. I don't know, but it seems to be that it hasn't changed in the inner cities. No way. In London and like Birmingham, Manchester, and then in America, yeah. So like black and white crime is a thing, is a big thing, you know. And like, so what's the point of it? The point of this is like we're all getting older, and the population is getting darker. So yeah. So as you have less and less white people, you're going to have more and more crime, more crime against the elderly. Now, specifically against the elderly, because if I'm 58, within a few years, I'll be elderly. So within a few years, I'll be in that age bracket that I can't defend myself. I've got 6 German Shepherd dogs, but when they're gone, you know, how am I going to defend myself? So I'm thinking, yeah, as an older person, you should be able to defend yourself. And a lot of people, because of, you know, failing health, or they don't think about these things, they never train for anything. So I suppose we should train for, I'm not saying what may happen, probably the inevitable, the way things are going. It's so negative. Well, you look at the reports. You go on YouTube, right, and look at I don't know, man assaulted in the UK, woman assaulted in the UK, elderly woman assaulted in the UK, and look at the demographics. I don't have to say anything. You just do your own research. Well, it doesn't prove anything. It proves everything. It proves everything that I've said. So this is really horrible, right? Because it even stops you, well, me, from making friends with black guys. Because if you make friends with the good black guys, at some point, you know, you're gonna like maybe encounter one of those bad ones that wants to hurt these black guys. You know what they're like. They look bad at each other, and then something's gonna start. What's the solution? Let me see. Hey, you can live in the mountains away from everyone, but then you're completely away from everyone. I'm going to have to start to create a martial arts system for the elderly. It's called the Gerald's geriatric system. Coming soon. Speak to you guys later.